RDMS.
Oh, so Reynoso, no, so that's a sick name, man.
Bro, I appreciate that.
Went from watching in the stands and watching guys like you and the guys that were like from a generation before me.
Whenever I do fight again, I need Christian Reynoso there on commentary. Otherwise, I'm not doing it.
What's up, guys, and welcome back to another edition of Reynoso Noso. Christian here, and we have got a huge episode ahead of us. I've had the pleasure of having legends on, up-and-comers, and today I have the true definition of a fan favorite. Joining me today is 30-time UFC veteran, 8-time Performance of the Night winner, and fresh off the heels of picking up a TKO finish at Dirty Boxing 3, please welcome the one and only Bruce Leeroy, Alex Caceres. What's up, Alex?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
I'm great, bro. Thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, it's always good.
No, man, this is really exciting. Like before we went live, I kind of was trying not to fanboy too hard, bro, but I'm a longtime fan. Like going way back, bro. I remember you from the underground fight days, the Dada 5000 of videos, Bruce Leroy versus Chocolate, all those fights. But dude, we'll talk about the past in a second, but let's talk about right now, bro. I mentioned it. Fresh off the heels of a finish at Dirty Boxing 3 very recently, about a month ago. You seem to be settling in there, bro.
Yeah, it's just getting used to the rule sets and not just training harder. No no tricks to it.
Well, like obviously I talked about like your extensive history at the UFC. But when you decided to start doing some different ventures outside of the UFC, immediately certain shows are coming to mind for like certain fighters, right? And these striking platforms that are starting to come to the surface, like the Dirty Boxings or the Karate Combats, they really do seem to suit a lot of these fighters that are looking to maybe transition outside of the UFC or maybe hone in on their striking. Is that a direction maybe you're thinking of focusing on a little bit more right now?
Well, no, it doesn't really matter to me. I'm just the UFC has just been keeping me on the shelf. I'm still in their roster and testing pool. They just haven't got back to me for another fight contract. So we asked them if it's cool that I just go do other stuff, and they say, yeah, whatever. And they'll just call me whenever they need me, I guess. But I'm getting tested every once in a while, like every month or so. I'm getting drug tested. So for the UFC, so I don't know why. I don't know. It's just been a while, so I'm just wondering what's going on, honestly. But in the meantime, I'm doing other fights.
Yeah. I mean, especially when there's just plenty of guys in the UFC right now that are active that you have wins over, like the Julian Arosas, the Chase Hoopers, and even you almost had a fight with Nate Landwehr that was scheduled that fell through.
I don't know what happened with that fight. Same thing. I was supposed to fight Andre Feely, and then that one got canceled, or it didn't even happen. Just seeing it coming to fruition. So I'm just been waiting around, and they keep telling me, yeah, just wait. So I'm just gonna go do some other stuff while I wait, so I don't get rusty or anything. Just stay active.
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely somebody I consider, a savage in the cage, right? But a thinking man and a real martial artist, um, through and through, right? This is something that's more than just your occupation, right? Like um, obviously the Bruce Leroy character could be a thing, but it's a part of your life, right? So as you look to transition or to stay active, um, I've noticed that you're also heading in another direction. You're taking on a match at Fight Circus this weekend.
Oh yeah, they hit me up not too long ago, and thought it would be cool if I would do one of their matches and stuff. And I don't know, it'll be cool to work with them. I've been talking with the guys there and thinking about some of those business ventures, doing more theatrical work and whatnot. I mean, it's something to do on the side while I'm not busy as well. I just been trying, honestly, I like, if I don't keep myself busy, I get super lazy. You
Well,
know? I have a problem with that. So I gotta stay having something to do so that I do other stuff as well.
What's a day look like for Alex Caceres right now?
Right now, well, me and my wife, we run a IV business in Glendale, I mean in Phoenix, Arizona. And I just been working that and training and gardening a lot. And I like to do a lot of gardening, so I have a lot of plants growing right now, trying to bring up a lot of vegetables and fruits, and trying to start for some fruit trees as well, because I plan to buy some land and plant them on the land there.
Feels like a good time to transition. I feel you're really interesting, not just for like I said, like being a martial artist and philosophizing here from here to there, but you're a vegan as well, right?
No,
Or is that still, or you were at one,
I
you
wasn't
were at one
vegan
point.
for it was recently. I would say like probably a little, definitely less than a year,
Okay.
where we transitioned, and just it was just it became more so looking for the real foods. I'm always a big person about finding real foods, and then veganism kind of turned into I still eat lots of fruits and vegetables and whatnot. It's hard to find real food when it comes to veganism. They do a lot of mock meats, a lot of the mock proteins, and then the lot of vegetables that I would use as protein have been or are being compromised by big factories putting poisons in them and whatnot. And so just getting back to the real, that was the whole basis on going vegan in the first place. It was very hard to find, living in the city, good access to hunted or well-raised meats.
Yeah, I had Ben Eddy on the show pretty recently, who's one of Eddie Bravo's black belts, from 10th Planet, Austin, and he's big into like, he's one of these like raw dairy meat,
Yeah.
not a lot of veggies, and
Oh, it was crazy because speaking of dairy, I'm sorry to interrupt.
no, please do.
Whatchamacallit, like I used to think that I was lactose intolerant. I used to think a lot of the things would affect me, but it was just the sources of what you're getting it from. You know, I was never lactose intolerant. I was just allergic to A1 protein milk, which are basically fake cows. They're like genetically modified cows. You go with the real cows, which is A2 milk. I never had a problem with it. I'm like, holy shit. And it actually tastes like fucking milk.
Yeah, that's fucking weird, dude, because yeah, like I don't know if I'm lactose intolerant either, but I've come on the assumption in the last couple of years that I am, because it's like, well, I guess I don't do that well in it, but I know I was traveling a couple months ago, and when I was in Europe, I was like eating, and I also don't eat much gluten, but out there for some reason, I was fine with the bread. I ate some dairy, I was fine. And it was like, fuck, man, are they on some weird shit in the States maybe?
Well, I mean, I feel like in a lot of places, and just in general, I feel it's the consensus of the people that I guess are in control. You know, to stay in control, you would rather have a population fighting obesity and disease, versus a healthy and fit, critically thinking population, because then it would be a lot harder to control those people. They'll be much more able to fend for themselves, which is a bigger reason why they like to group people into cities. Because in cities you are dependent, but if you learn how to live on the land and on the country by yourself, then you don't need the government. Like, it's like, okay, what do you need them for? You have your own water, your own food, your own shelter. But if you live in the city, they have to provide you with their infrastructure. And so therefore you're basically having a middleman to get the shit that you would normally get living on your own.
We're like led to believe that like this idea of living off the grid is like
It's difficult.
difficult, negative. It's like,
And it is difficult. It is difficult. But then again, like, you have to think about like what are the jobs that you have to do or had to do in order to provide shelter, food, electricity, and water in this city.
yeah,
Yeah.
A lot of it would be difficult, and not just difficult physically, like difficult mentally, emotionally. It's just draining. I would rather deal with something difficult physically, like digging the trench or, farming a field, versus sitting on my ass for like 8 hours, or, like, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
But monotonously serving burgers, like down the line and shit. I don't know. Like, I would have to, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. I just had a thought. I was like, fuck it, maybe we'll see fucking Farmer Bruce Leeroy one day, and that'll be the next full transition.
Oh, this morning you can see the garden. It's pretty. I've been barring for a very long time. I mean, I don't know if you've seen like old videos.
Yeah, I've seen some of your stuff. Yeah, yeah. I think but what I didn't know, you know what? Maybe I have seen stuff about your IV business in the past. I didn't know you guys are running that out there. So can you tell me a little bit about that and how you got how that became like something like a business venture that you guys decided to partake in? Because that's relatively, I feel like that got hot in like the last decade, right?
I guess so, but no, but it's just
Maybe longer, sorry.
She's a naturopathic doctor. So like when we were in Florida, we had businesses as well. So we're just trying to like have like a wellness center, and we want to incorporate more modalities like PRP shots, for like joint health and recovery. And if we can expand the place, then we can add more stuff in there, like maybe a juice bar, a smoothie bar, and stuff like that. But just like the whole goal is like that's what we're planning on doing as well. If we can acquire some land, we want to put botanical gardens, edible gardens in there, as well as like create like a wellness center, because she's a naturopathic doctor. So that's why she can administer IVs. So we said like, okay, let's just open up a business. The first thing that we can do that's available to us, that's easy, would be IV therapy. And then we can start adding on after that, and hopefully create this wellness center, or wellness retreat, I would say, because if we could do it, we would put it on like hopefully like maybe 15, 20 acres, and then we can build like a whole bunch of stuff on it, maybe put a dojo on there, and I can do some classes, and
But that's I guess I didn't immediately see the connection. That's why I asked. But now that you say it like that, it's like, well, yeah, that does make sense. Like heading in the direction of like a wellness center is pretty badass, and to have somebody of your caliber like in the fight world, I think guys in the fight world and martial arts and shit are more open to it nowadays. But back in the day, everyone's just such a hard ass that they weren't quite open to like thinking outside the box, right? But now it's like, if it's like, bro, do you even cold plunge? So like maybe the fucking timing, right? It's like maybe the timing is just right. So
one second though. Do you mind if I grab a little bit of water real quick?
Please do, please do.
All right, thanks. Yeah.
So you talked about how you and your missus obviously have your roots in Florida. And I touched a little bit on the those old school videos I used to watch back in the day of you fighting in backyards and stuff. That Florida MMA scene was something really special, though, I think, back in the day. Especially if we're talking about like the pre-2010 era, maybe. Like I'm trying to remember when like roughly when those fights were. But I know that there were a lot of key players in the like Florida MMA scene around that time. I've heard you chat about it in some interviews. I've been hitting the head a lot, and so I'm not sure if it's all registering just right. So I'd love to go over some of them. I remembered an interview not long ago, or yeah, it was Yoel talking about the people, Yoel Romero, who obviously is, everybody knows who Yoel is now. But when he first got here from Cuba, he talked about the people that were most influential to him and the people that most helped mold him as a fighter. And I remember kind of being on the edge of my fucking seat when I was watching this clip. So I was like, oh shit, who's he gonna say? And he said Alexis Villa, who I knew of as the old
one of my influential people in my life, as well.
Well, I knew him because he was like, oh, he was fighting in Bellator when Bellator first came on the scene. What was his nickname? Executioner or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm blanking on it. It's on the tip of my tongue. But anyways, it doesn't matter. I say it doesn't matter as I look it up. And he said it was Alexis Villa, who was obviously a stud wrestler and transitioned beautifully to MMA. And even though it felt like he was just a little late for MMA, Right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
just
for sure, for sure. He was like, he was definitely like his first few fights, like he dominated, but like, yeah, he was already like 45 or something like that. But like, yeah,
exorcist.
the exorcist, you couldn't tell. Yeah, you couldn't tell, but he was like almost 50, when he started. Because
Crazy.
I met him when he first came from Cuba, and he became my wrestling coach, and like he beat the fuck out of us when we were kids. And it was just like incredible training, though. It was really good training. The guy was just phenomenal, especially when we met him. Like, he was a little bit younger, bro. Like, he would toss people like it was just nothing. I mean, the guy was and he was a savage. Like, the guy was just, his bones were just hard, like his finger bones. He would bite you, he would play like flex. Yeah, he would do cheap shit. Like, he would grab your balls and twist these shit, like during sparring. Like, he would fuck with you. But yeah, he was a tough motherfucker, man. And but yeah, he did arrive a little bit too late, man.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. That is one of those names. God, I remember those. Who did he fight? Like he's fighting like Eduardo Dantas, and it was like a, is that his name? Dantas. He was like, but I remember there was like almost like a 20-year age gap with some of the guys he was fighting in Bellator, and it was yeah, like you said, just it's a little late. So sorry. You all talked about him, Masvidal. Obviously, you can't talk about like old school Florida without bringing up Masvidal, but he mentioned you as well. He's like those three. I don't know if you've seen this interview. It's in Spanish. Um, and he's like, yo aprendí mucho, mucho, mucho de Alex. He's like, I learned so much from Alex. Uh, and I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that you were already in the UFC. He knew where he wanted to go. But you already kind of, even though he was Yoel Romero, you were already kind of, it felt like you became a veteran early. And maybe that was just as a fan watching from the outside. And maybe it was because at the time it felt like guys coming out of the Ultimate Fighter were really, really expedited, like really pushed along farther or quicker than now. At least it felt like it at the time. Did you feel yourself even then um potentially having an influential role like that?
Well, I feel like it's weird because like I've always felt that way. I've always felt that I've always had like a different way of grasping things, and I can't say that I'm like intentionally going out there to influence people, but I observe myself. I'm observant as when I'm doing it, because for some reason when I'm doing it, like, how can I put this? It's like I do it constantly to a lot of people, with a lot of people, and a lot of people might say that I had a lot of influence on them and I taught them a whole lot of things. But it's simply because when I do that, for some reason, it's like I'm hearing it for the first time. It's like I am doing it for myself as well. So it's not like it's not charitable, and it's not necessarily selfish either. It's just it's something that happens in my head. It's like I notice something, and then I feel like I have to explain it, and sometimes I share it with certain people because it helps me reflect on those thoughts as I'm saying it, and I learn the same thing that I'm teaching.
And is that something that you think you just kind of almost subconsciously realize is going to be a part of your learning process? Like,
I don't know. I just like doing it. I just like doing it. There was no like there was no reasoning behind it. It's just like I noticed myself doing it. And then I notice as I'm doing it, I'm like, oh, like I'm finally understanding this for the first time as I'm explaining it. For some reason, when I get to explain it to other people, I can understand it deeper.
do you, I know you talked about wanting to, if you, when the wellness center comes together, potentially slapping a dojo on there, but you have plenty left in your fighting tank. But when the day comes, does the idea of coaching and training fighters excite you at all?
Well, I mean,
Full time, I should say.
I wouldn't say like coaching or training fighters per se. I would just train people in general. I mean, I feel like that would be I wouldn't necessarily want to coach people for fights in a sense like that. I mean, or be your coach for the fight and whatnot. Maybe I'll do it. Who knows? Depending, but I would prefer just to train people in general because I feel like um fighting is great and it's awesome. It's what I do for a living. It's what I do. It's how I make the money. But I feel like martial arts is the real treasure, the understanding of it, the mentality of it, the spirituality of it, and the physicality of it. I feel all of it together. That's what I really want to um exemplify and promote and spread out, not more so like what I did in the cage or what I do in the ring. That is, it's nice and it's beautiful and it's fun to do. And it's a great inspiration for people that want to do that and everything like that. But it's not the reason why I do martial arts.
Um, yeah, if you don't mind, let's get a little deeper with that. Cause I train, I've been in martial arts forever. I got my black belt and shit, but that doesn't necessarily mean I have I have it all figured out quite yet. And obviously there's a lot to learn, and I think I could learn a lot about this topic from you. So you talk about martial arts obviously being the treasure, right? And the philosophies and the benefits, right? And that is really what it's all about. Couldn't agree with you more. I have kids, and I talk about like wanting them to train to because it's going to give them so much, right? I'm raising kids in a really weird time, in a really, really weird time.
I
I
understand.
I think you already know where I'm going with it. You might already know where I'm going with this. I have a 9 and an 11-year-old that shouldn't have any idea or semblance of politics or these people don't like those people. But unfortunately, that sort of thing is bleeding its way, into different parts of the world that we didn't have to worry about in the past, or maybe it wasn't so much a thing. I could be wrong. But here's where I'm going with it. I find myself struggling to explain how these martial arts, aside from teaching you how to kick someone's ass if they mess with you,
Yeah.
how they can help find peace right now through martial arts when you're talking to some, either, and it doesn't just apply to kids, because some people just, adults may not get it either, Um, how do you feel martial arts fitting into the landscape right now? I guess is the more general way of asking the question in our current day and age when shit's a little weird.
Well, like I mean, there's a lot of problems where like martial arts can't solve everything, that's going on right now. That's a whole bigger issue. But where martial arts can help, I guess, when it comes to individuals wanting to find themselves or find things better about themselves, uh, how would you say? How can I put this? It helps you with not trying to achieve so much in the sense of like I need to prove something. It gives you reason, like reasoning. You know what I'm saying? So like, for instance, I guarantee it. 95% of the time, I can't say 100% of the time, people that get stronger are more aware of their strength. People that are more aware of their strength are less likely to abuse it. I'm going to be a little more careful about it. The same way when a person gets more aware of a gun, knows their way around it from a very young age, they are less likely to abuse that power because they understand the consequences and the ramifications of abusing such power. The more that I learned martial arts, the more that I learned how to strengthen myself and combat the odds. It came with a lot more reason, responsibility, and understanding. Therefore, that always superseded my emotions. So even if I was angry and I had someone dead to rights, my reasoning says, don't harm this person. There is no reason to, like you are angry, but that doesn't mean your emotions are right. But feeling them is not wrong.
Yeah.
Or how you deal with them, you know, depending.
Yeah, it's almost like and you know what? Maybe to tag on to your point, I think maybe it's also one of those things that I may not be able to necessarily always verbalize. And I'm not necessarily looking for answers, but to verbalize like this is what you're gonna get out of it, and this is when it's gonna happen. I think maybe it's a matter of adopting more of kind of like a yogi frame of mind that it's not necessarily the goal. You know, you're gonna pick.
There was no goals, and like one of the biggest fallacies, and especially I've been doing a lot of like research and just studying and just thinking a lot. Like one of the biggest fallacies is self-improvement. You know, it's impossible, because think about it. To improve yourself, the one that needs to be improved is the one doing the improving.
One more time.
So self-improvement means the one that needs to be improved is the one that is doing the improving. How can that be?
I see where you're going with that.
Now,
Yeah.
in order for that to happen, you have to entrust yourself to something better, either to your higher mind, which is not you, the ego mind that you use consciously every day. That means you have to get rid of your ego if you want to so-called improve. But once you do that, you'll find out that you didn't improve. You didn't get any better at doing anything. You know, you got better at observing things now. And then you see that when you observe for a very long period of time, that you are not a doing of things, or you are not partaking of a doing of things. You are simply a happening of things. You control the pumping of your blood, and it keeps you alive, but you are doing it. But you're doing it without even thought. The same way, do you control your breathing? We say we do, but if you tried to control your breath, what would happen? You would lose it.
Right.
You would choke on your own breath. You would lose it. But if you let your breath go and trust it to your body, you know, it'll keep coming back again. It's like water, right? When you try to jump into the water and you try to grasp a hold of the water, you're going to sink. But if you let yourself go to the water, it'll carry you. It'll lift you up and you'll float. So when you see that, yeah, I'm sorry.
No, no, please, no. Go on, Alex.
So when you see that you are a happening rather than a doing, then there is no need to improve or achieve a goal. You are simply being it. There is no getting somewhere. You're already there. You just have to wake up to it. You, the ego mind, cannot be there because it's worried about all the little things. You know, it's attaching itself to the thoughts. But you are beyond that, and I can tell you that you are beyond that. Here's a great example. When you think, can you hear a voice in your head? Now, who is that voice speaking if it's not you speaking with your mouth? Now, even further than that, that voice in your head, who is observing that voice? Who is hearing that voice? It is not your ears. It is not the voice that is saying. It's not the voice that is saying. That is just a thought. So you're even beyond the voice in your head. You are the complete observer, where it's silent and peaceful. You're where you see everything going on.
Bro, there's a lot happening here, my man. And I was initially, when I was gonna almost interrupt you, but I realized I wasn't quite there yet. I was gonna say, so it's a matter of surrendering, but in reality, the way you're explaining it to me, there's multiple levels of surrender, right? It's surrendering your ego, and then recognizing where you lay, and then recognizing that next level that you talk about of what is in actuality, like you said, that voice, who is observing, and is the, if, I guess if you're blind, is a blind leading the blind if it's the same sort of thing?
No, it's not that. It's just, it's weird because like you have to look at it in that way. There's always going to be a sense of the unknown, and you have to embrace that unknown as yourself. You have to know that there is a part of yourself that can never be known by your conscious mind. So if I could explain it in a way, like your fingertip cannot touch the own fingertip, and only in order to feel this fingertip, I must touch it with another fingertip. So I only know this fingertip by contrast. The same way I can't look at the back of my own head, my tongue cannot taste itself, and I can't bite my own teeth. there's going to be an aspect of the unknown when it comes to knowing oneself. Now, the heads and the tails of a coin, they're a part of the same coin, right? But you would say it's two different sides of the coin. But if you rub one side of the coin until there was nothing left, both sides disappeared. But the heads can never see the tails. So in explaining this in a more wave function, right? In an on and off switch, or like if you saw waves, right? You can never have a crest of a wave without the trough of the wave.
Right.
You can't have the on without the off. You can't have the light without the dark. Hence, you can't have death without life. Life implies death. Death implies life. Couldn't you remember a time before you were born?
No.
Exactly. It was complete annihilation. You were never existed. And then you existed, and then you were born and you are in life. And then you are going to a place when you die of complete non-existence again. And what does that imply? Okay, I was there before I was alive. That means I'm going to be alive after I die. It's an on and off switch. It's a wave function. And when we understand this, we're not fearing death, and we can move more freely in life, and we can take part of the play of life more intrinsically. So we can feel all the emotions, play our parts, do our duties, have fun with it, but be unattached to it.
Now, tying this into your fighting career, if you don't mind, and I hope you don't, I really hope you don't, because it just made me think of, it was after your last Dirty Boxing interview, you said, didn't you say like you felt like you had been taking fighting too seriously? Um, would you say that had like this, not that you just picked up this mentality, but it has it been a matter of adopting this more I don't even know how to state it, but this type of thinking in terms of fights, results, external factors, and how they affect you, is that have something to do with the way that you're now approaching fighting?
Um, well, I feel like well, hmm, yeah, I guess so. The more I feel like I'm always learning. I feel like there's been times before, in my career as well, throughout my life, where I am in that state of mind where I'm not taking things seriously, and that's where, I'm evolving the most. And then there are times where the spiral gets tight, and I have to, um how would you say, like, kind of hone into more of a physical mind in order to survive.
Yeah.
Then when things loosen up again, it allows more room to philosophize and open up again. So the same way that life comes in waves, I feel like lessons come in waves. So I've experienced these types of state of minds before, but now I guess more in a deeper level, because I would have to overcome more BS, I guess,
Yeah.
for it to get there. So, but it's an understanding that we have to have. We cannot have all light, and we can't have all up with no downs. It has to come with the darkness, has to come with the light, the good has to come with the bad, and we have to work with it. We can't hope to eliminate all evil people, or all evil thoughts, or all the crazy stuff that's going on in the world, like you were saying before. These things have been going on for a very long time. It's been going on since the beginning of civilization, a matter of fact. I've been studying the Ethiopian Bible, the book of Maccabees at the moment, and reading the stories. Like, this shit's been going on for a very long time. Like, just how would you say, gendered changing, like sex acts, exercising and walking around naked, like immoral acts against, and they're like, and people were just feeling bad about it. And there was always war erupting and a lot of crazy stuff going on. So I don't think this is nothing new. And I don't think this is something that we have to shy away from or try to eliminate completely. I think we just have to stand up and keep up the good fight. like, or find better ways of combating that. I feel what happened, the reason why we fall into those type of natures is because we get grouped up into cities and we lose meaningful connections that we would have in smaller towns. And when you lose meaningful connections, you don't care about what wrong you do to somebody because they're a stranger and you probably won't see them again. It becomes a breeding ground. It's not to say that you would do it. Not everybody would do it, but there are going to be people there that would take advantage of such close quarter living, where you can take advantage of people. And not only close quarter, I mean, close quarter without recognizing your neighbor. I mean, how many people do you know live in neighborhoods and they know their neighbors?
Not as many as you think, or you
Exactly.
hope, right?
Exactly. And without meaningful connections, that means you have no responsibility and you have no accountability towards nobody. Therefore, fuck everybody else. It's all me, and I need to survive. So much so that when families turn 18 in their regular households, they all move away from each other. They all have their separate cars, have their separate fucking bills. When back in the day, or if you look at other people that actually stay rich or stay wealthy or have good family morals and values, they have family farms. They stay on the land. They all have their family on their plot the land and whatnot. They work their land, and just because they stay together, they're able to continue good morals. I mean, look what happens to the kids that are institutionalized these days. Look at the morals that they have. And the reason why they have that is because they took away land from people, shoved them into little boxes, made the price of and cost of living so high that it requires two people to go out and get ends meet. And therefore, the kids left to who? The institution to teach them whatnot. And then who's teaching them? And what are they teaching? You don't know. When they come home, they have all these brand new ideas that you don't agree with, and you know that it's going to mess them up in the future. But what can you do about it? Because now they have something called child protective services. you know and the list goes on. I can continue, but it's like being a dead horse. We already understand the point. When you pull away from nature, you lose your human nature, and when you lose your human nature, you no longer have humanity. We live in a dead world of concrete boxes. you know and then we put pictures of nature, and we put house plants in order for it to look like outside, and then we just stay inside. Where do you think we should be in the first place? The sun is great for you, but we hide from it.
And you talk about this idea of getting away from community. Um, and I think it's treated lightly, the joke of, oh, when you
I think community. I don't think like getting away from community.
okay.
I just think the like having community. To have a community, you need smaller, um, groups of people, like towns with no more than 250 to 500 people, because you can't have that many meaningful connections with thousands and thousands of people. You know, and then when you have cities of thousands and thousands of people, you have to destroy nature in order to make room for that many people in that small vicinity.
Yeah.
And
What's
yeah.
what then what's an individual's in your opinion, what's an individual's best course of action to better themselves or to bring themselves closer to where they need to be? Or in your personal opinion, like what you're doing.
I feel like if you can get together with a group of like-minded people, no matter how big or small, but I feel like um kind of like creating your own townsman or tribesmanship, something like that. I know that the most meaningful connections you can have is about 125 to 200 people. So if you can get that many people, great, start your own fucking town. But if not, do it with your close family and friends if they're willing to do it, and start a family compound. Find ways to make it completely tax deductible and free, and get the rights to your land and all that type of stuff. Like there is no more, and make sure that the people that you're going in with have vocational skills, or try to learn vocational skills, things that you're going to need in the future, things that actually matter.
Back. And that's another thing is you're a little younger than me, but we certainly came from an era where it was like really jammed down your throat. Our whole generation was jammed down our throats. um, to go get, these, these college degrees, a lot of which a lot of our generation is sinking in debt.
Yeah.
And up to our nose in debt, but also up to our nose in knowledge or skills that we really don't need, and a lack of trades as well,
Yeah, it's well, we lost the tradesman skills, and even the construction workers and the engineers, they can't build anything without plans and according to plans and regulations of a city, which are not the best building plans that you can have, or with the best materials that you can build with either, which is weird because it's like it's meant to fail. It's called planned obsolescence. You need things that are planned to be obsolete so that you can pay people or hire people or charge people to fix them. Therefore, you can tax people. It's like, hey, we need to upkeep the roads because we didn't build them right. So this is where most of your tax money is going to go. Oh, the highways are breaking down, so we need to do that. The sidewalks are fucking up, so we need to. And when you look at like ancient Rome's or like Italy, like those streets that were built thousands of years ago are still there.
Yeah.
So we're purposely building them like shit so that we can keep repairing them.
That's a fucking good point, dude. We're just like I said, we're just in Europe a couple months ago. We're like walking through the Coliseum. I was like, what the fuck, man? Like, look at this shit still holding up. Meanwhile, the fucking highway I take to work is getting ripped apart every 6 months.
Yeah, look at like the Parliament buildings that you see like in even Washington and shit like that.
Yeah.
They were built like in 1800s on horse and buggy and shit, and they're still standing. And then my fucking drywall house is breaking down every Friday.
Are you not to go off topic, but you mentioned your drywall house, and I mentioned your move from Florida to Arizona. Florida's intense, bro. Miami specifically, right? But like I have family out there and I visited plenty. Um, Trying to accommodate the speed of life that you're trying to create, was the move to Arizona a little bit better for that?
Yeah, for sure. Now it's getting a lot of people are coming in as to the city, at least, it's getting more crowded, but it was definitely a slower lifestyle, more of an outdoorsman spirit in Arizona. Everybody's a regular hiker and stuff like that. There's a lot of outdoor stuff to do. So for sure it definitely slowed time down, something definitely I needed. And yeah, Florida and Miami especially is just way too crazy.
Yeah, it's intense, dude. It's intense. Like
Expensive, bro. It's like, and just to get like 5 miles, it takes 30 minutes. Like the traffic's ridiculous.
yeah, hard pass, dude. Hard pass. So those, but you are a Florida kid, right? Like you were born.
Yes.
Yeah. Um, and if you don't mind, because I did have it in my notes. I wanted to get to it, and I feel like I've dug around and I can't find too much. I know you were influenced a little bit, like a lot of us, by the movies. Uh, but what was there a turning point that not just sent you on the path as a kid in Florida to like want to fight and scrap? Um, but was there a turning point that made you want to shift or have this sort of mentality? Were you always born kind of a more introspective thinking type? Or was there something that happened along the way that made you realize like, well, no, I'm looking to go this I'm a more spiritual, holistic person.
Well, I never really thought of it as spiritual. I never really like to think of it as that or even intellectual. Like I just,
Why?
to me, it was always a weird, just a different way of thinking or a different way of seeing things because what amazes me is that a lot of people don't see the amazing uniqueness that they have of looking at things, and just because like maybe mine might stand out a little bit more just because I speak about it or I actually speak about the weird things that I see. But if we all did that, we'd be surprised at the things that we all discover on a day-to-day basis. But a lot of us, we put a filter, we put a mask on before we speak. We're like, wait, what is this going to sound like? Am I going to be accepted for what I'm about to say? And if it's going to be off the wall, is this going to be off the end? Am I going to, I will like, you got to be okay with losing. You know what I'm saying? Because it's a part of it. So who cares if I get rejected? And who cares this person? Like at the end of the day, like I've always lived by that standard. It's like, well, I mean, they're not paying my bills, really. They're not really feeding me. I don't really care what they think, but let's see if I can bounce some ideas off this person or not, because they seem like they're cool. But if I get rejected, then who cares? You know, that's just their way of thinking, and you got to respect that. But if everybody unfiltered their thoughts, um, I don't mean like go around and just start cursing people out and chill out there. But I mean, when we actually feel like there's something like strange about life, and we want, and we express it and we explain it, we might find something there, something unique there in ourselves. And I think that's what made me different. Is that I wasn't afraid to express the weirdness that I found in life. Like sometimes, I remember when I was a kid, I've always felt like I thought this way, even before I started fighting. I used to wonder how rocks were made, like the many different types of sediment that had to go in and combine and conform to make a certain type of rock, you know? And so then I'll just pick up sand and I'll just look at every type of different set and like trying to separate them. Like, oh, this one's lighter, this one's this. I don't know why, but just to see like the different types of things, or like to get really close to the grass and see how the grass at an eye level looks like a small forest. You know, you can wonder how it is for all the but like we all have these thoughts, I feel like, and we all did this when we were kids, but did we ever really express it? Did we ever really run down the rabbit hole? You know, and the reason why we usually don't is because of preconceived notions. Like, for instance, before you get along with anybody, most people ask, what political party are they? What religion do they practice? Let me look at the color of their skin. Let me look at and let me see the way that they think, and then I'm gonna judge them off of that. And if they I don't like a certain thing, then that's it. I can't know them. So like we have all these things that are blocking us from actual touching things, feeling things, sensing things. You know. So if
Yeah.
you were just to take that out, then I feel like we can find our true selves, and we'll see that like, oh man, I'm like everybody else.
Is it an oversimplification to just be like, well, fuck it, we're just keep pointing back to our ego, and it's the ego remaining the enemy, right? Is that what causes us to be fearful of being wrong, of looking weird, of being different?
It's not the ego, it's identifying with the ego. Okay, is saying that the ego is me. The ego is a great tool, but a terrible master. We need the ego to survive. If I didn't differentiate me from a deadly lion, I would get eaten every time. So the ego is a great tool. If I wasn't able to see colored bananas, be like, oh, that's a great fruit right there for me to eat, I would starve. So the ego is good as a tool. But when we start identifying with the high anxious mind of the ego, which is I need to eat, I need to survive, I need to stay away from danger, then we're gonna constantly live in anxiety.
Can I add any?
It's not a suggestion. It's stating a simple state of facts, like the state of the what we're living in. You know, if we're identified with the mind that has to survive to keep this body alive, we're going to live in constant anxiety. That is not us. We are the one that controls that mind, or that observes that mind, because we can stop that mind. The same way you can jump into an ice bath, your mind is going to say, your ego mind is like, get the fuck out. But your higher mind can say, no, stay in. It's good for me. Trust me. Trust me. Shut up, ego. Right? So right there, we separated ourselves there. But on a day-to-day basis, we constantly identify with the ego mind, the forefront mind trying to survive all the time, which is why we're always high strung.
It's a vicious cycle too, because it feels like that anxiety and stress is what leads to you kind of coming back full circle to not being the best version of yourself, and just kind of continuing in this rat race and not quite ever really certain of how or when to self improve, right?
Well, like it's just about it's just I can't stress it enough. It's about trying to observe yourself. You know, when you become the observer and just see the happening. So like meditation helps. You know, there's forms of meditation. A lot of people think meditation, I'm gonna blank out my mind. Don't blank out your mind. You know, a good way to do it is just to sit there. You can close your eyes. You're going to leave your eyes open. But if you have your eyes open, keep your eyes open and look at your surroundings. But don't try to identify any objects. Just let all the visions come to your eyes. Same thing when you're sitting down and you're listening to everything. Listen to all the noises around you, whether it be cars, birds chirping, whatever, with the wind blowing. But don't try to identify the noises. Just let them all play with your ear. And if you identify the noises with your mind, who cares? Simply observe that you're identifying the noises, and then you understand that you're not the one that is sensing all the sense objects. You are sensing yourself sensing the sense objects. Therefore, you don't have to live in anxiety all the time. It helps with it, at least. But it's constantly a reminder that that is you. And when you remind yourself that is you, you can use your ego mind to survive and perform, but kind of like taking the back seat of it. Like letting all the thoughts run through. You don't have to attach yourself to all the thoughts. It's like a person sitting down on the side of the road, watching cars go by. If the person got up and tried to stop every car that went by, he's just going to exasperate himself. No, sit down and let the cars go by. Just watch the cars go by. You're going to have thoughts anyway. You can't stop your mind from thinking.
Yeah, that's powerful because personally, I know I struggle with, obviously I didn't have that just in the chamber, like this whole idea of ego is the enemy, right? Because it's something that I try to remind myself of, but I suppose, it's identifying it as more than just an enemy, right? Because it's not. It's a matter, like you said, it's a matter of using it as a tool. What, you mentioned meditation. I was going to ask, what are the tools you use to help you kind of stay grounded like that, or that have helped you or are continuing to help you kind of find peace and continuing to not let those sort of feelings and emotions become the master?
Well, it's generally you want to try the anxious mind, or the ego mind, which is the anxious mind. The reason why it's not at peace is simply because it is worried about what has happened and what might happen. So it's living in the future and in the past. So it remembers what happened. And so it knows the process of like reward and like the reward system. So like if I do this, I'm gonna get this result from my past. And same thing about what's gonna happen in the future. Am I gonna get hurt in the future? Oh, I'm hungry. Am I gonna eat in the future? So you're constantly worried about that. And that's like, yeah, you're gonna be living rattle brain all the time. That's like sticking your hand in a fire and being surprised that you got burned. Well, if you stick your hand in the fire, you're gonna get burned. And you can get burned if you want to, but if you don't want to get burned, then stop putting your hand in the fire. So
Fire's fun sometimes, dude.
yeah. But if you're gonna do it, then do it, then you do it consciously. But like I said, you use it as a tool.
Yeah.
So now, like for instance, a person that's constantly just thinking about the ego mind is living in the future. He's gonna be living for results, right?
Okay.
So, and if you live for results and you don't get the results that you want, you're gonna be disappointed.
Right.
So, attachments, desires, they lead to pain and disappointment. Not to say that you shouldn't have them, and not to say you shouldn't have pains or disappointments, but if you don't attach yourself to them, because they're just happenings. And you need to have these things happen, and you got to take them as a maybe. You ever heard of the story of the Chinese farmer?
Go on. No, I don't think I have.
Okay, so there was a Chinese farmer, right? And he owned a lot of horses, right? And one day, a few of his best males ran away. And then all the farmers gathered around to his house and says, "Hey man, that's pretty bad, isn't it?" And the farmer said, "Maybe." The next day, the male horses come back with a whole herd of horses. So now it increased his flock by at least 20 horses, And then the farmers all gather around again and says, "Hey, man, that's pretty good, isn't it?" He's like, "Maybe." The next day, the farmer's son went out there trying to tame one of these wild horses, and he got thrown off and he hit the ground and broke his arm. All the farmers gather around that day and says, "Oh, that's pretty bad, isn't it?" Farmer once again said, "Maybe." The next day, the consort of the military comes from the countryside and he says, "Hey, we're here recruiting young men for the war." And when they get to the farmer's house, they know that the boy has a broken arm and he's not fit for the war, so he doesn't get recruited. And all the farmers gather around and says, hey man, that's pretty good, isn't it? Maybe. So we don't know the results and the true results or of what happens on a day-to-day basis. So living in a state of anxiety, thinking that we're going to produce the best results by controlling them is an illusory thought process. You have to go through life with equanimity and take things as they come. It's a maybe. It could be good or bad, but we can't see the treasures in the bad, so-called bad things if we're focused on them too much. And then we can't see the potential bad things in the so-called good things if we focus on them too much. We got to kind of have a fog light view, pull away from the picture and kind of let things unfold. And then we can react or act accordingly in a proper manner.
Do you think there's a way to still create expectations for yourself without allowing your mind to delve into like this goal-centric way of thinking?
Well, it's it's not to say not to have goals. It's not to say not to have things to strive for. It's not to be attached to the results of those actions. So if it's like it's a Zen way of thinking, you know, it's not to say we don't cut wood. Is that when we do cut wood, we cut with the grain.
Got it.
It's not to say not to put in effort. Just go with the flow rather than against the current. Because what's the point of going against the current? If you swim against the current of a strong of a wave, you're gonna tire yourself out and get carried along with it anyway. It's best to swim with it, and if you want to get out of it, swim at an angle.
How do we swim at an angle in life? Are we just trying to figure it out as we go?
Of course. I mean, no river has the same path to the ocean. The person that wastes the most time climbing the mountain is the one running around the base saying you're going up the wrong way. Some people choose a hard way, some people choose an easy way, some people choose a beaten path, some beat their own path. It matters not. It's an experience all in all in itself. And that's all we have to embrace is that we're all going to develop experiences. And without the hardships, we wouldn't become tough enough to have good times or really appreciate them because we can only know them by contrast. If you only know good times, it will become a bore. You can only know real good times if you've been through some shit.
Yeah, that is the truth. No light without darkness, right? It kind of just makes me think about where our conversation or one of our earlier talking points and how I was like asking an incredibly difficult question of, well, then how can I use martial arts to help my kids understand what the crazy shit that's going on in the world? And it's like, well, like, well, one, you're not going to solve it. You're not going to solve everything through martial arts. But I hope you don't mind me using the term as martial arts certainly is a tremendous vehicle for allowing you to grow and maybe potentially put yourself in a frame of mind where you're not one knows, especially if you start delving into the competition realm, right? That if you become married to results, that's oftentimes the recipe for not necessarily always failure, but oftentimes a lot of maybe some sadness.
Well, yeah, it just well, it's unnecessary sadness. You know, like that's what it is. It's like they did like it's feeling unnecessarily sad for something. It's like because what is the results of a fight, you know, at that, and then like to be like it's the end of the world in that sense. You know, it's unnecessary. Like you're breaking your head. It's okay to be upset. Okay, I lost a fight. Yeah, you're upset. But then being upset for like 6 months or weeks even or a few days, like why? It already happened.
Yeah.
It didn't change anybody else's life that you lost or won the fight. You know, the lady is gonna pick up her groceries the next day anyway, like nothing ever happened. So
Yeah.
just get along with it all. But
Well, you know, go
was
ahead.
I was saying so far? You were saying about martial arts. But see, the way that I look at martial arts, I love the way that Jackie Chan put it. You know, like when in the Karate Kid movie, he was like, "Kung Fu is everything, and everything is Kung Fu." Now, a lot of people don't understand what Kung Fu means, you know. So, for instance, you heard the word Kung Fu, right? What do you think Kung Fu means?
I think my immediate thought is it's just a traditional Chinese martial art, like one as the others.
In martial arts. It has nothing to do with martial arts. Kung Fu simply means, which is why Kung Fu is everything and everything is Kung Fu. It's kind of like what yoga is. You know, yoga is the way you yoke with the Supreme Being. Yoga is not asanas. Asanas are the stretches. Yoga is the performance of yoking yourself with the Supreme Being. So it's a way of life. It's a dharma. It's the way of breath. It's how you do things. Kung Fu is how you do things. Kung Fu literally translates to skill over time. Any skill developed over time. Whatever you do skillfully, and it binds you with the Supreme. So whatever you do becomes a meditation. When you fold your clothes next time, meditate on folding your clothes. Observe how your arms move. Even without you telling them to do it, they know how to do it. No knowledge on you knowing more to do it doesn't help you do it better. For example, you knowing the mechanics of your bones and your muscles and your tendons doesn't help you open and close your hand any better. That's what I'm talking about, self-improvement, sir. You can't. You're perfect.
Yeah.
How do you improve perfection? Just realize it's perfection, and then you're there.
Brother, and to think how much more that would do for our world's self-worth and just overall well-being if we took that first step, right? Why does it feel almost dirty to feel that to want to adopt that frame of mind? Maybe not dirty, but it feels how am I not leaning into my ego if I say I'm perfect?
Well,
Maybe that's not the right way of verbalizing it. But how am I not being
well, because your ego is it would never think of itself as perfect. That's one thing. Your ego is always in it needs to constantly be achieving something. Oh, that's missing getting somewhere. You know, your true self just is observing because it has nothing else to do. It doesn't need to do anything. It breathes, it pumps its blood, it moves its fingers, it walks, it eats when it needs to. You don't have to tell yourself to eat. Your body will tell yourself to eat. But if you identify with your hunger cravings, then you're going to live in anxiety. I am not hunger. I am not craving food. My body craves food, and it tells me that I must seek out food. Therefore, I can consciously do it now. So now, if I unconsciously do it because I identify with the body, I'm gonna go get fast food. But since I consciously do it, I'm gonna get the best food because my body is perfect and needs perfect stuff. And then I'm perfect because I was not made. I did not make myself. I was created by perfection. So by the most supreme. You know, by the Supreme Being, whatever that may be, the Most High, the God Almighty, Yahweh, Yeshua, you know, you name it.
right.
I have been created. So therefore, that's how I know I am perfect, because I had no hand in making myself. So I couldn't have fouled up.
Yeah, right. That's beautiful, man. And one of the things I had in my notes that I don't really need to get to anymore was I was gonna say, and this is no shot at other people that I've interviewed but I've talked to enough people that are either dying to get to the UFC or dying to get back to the UFC. Some hide it better than others. Some are more than happy to be like talk about how desperately they're dying to Sean Shelby, Mick Maynard, you know. And I was gonna talk to you about your attitude right now. And you've always obviously, you know, you're the thinking man's fighter, right? But right now, in this point in your career, I remember the interview, or sorry, I think it was a post-fight press where you talked about why you're taking time away from the UFC. But you're just taking it all, for lack of better words, in stride. It seems like your attitude
It's amazing. It's amazing. I don't know how good or bad it is. If I stay in the UFC, who knows? Maybe it's bad for me. Maybe if I took those fights earlier in the year, maybe if I get another fight in the UFC, something really bad happens. Maybe that's why life might steer me away from it for a while, until I do something else. And or maybe these other ventures might blossom into something more fruitful. Who knows? But I can't be the judge of that, and I can't hurt my head over what other people are deciding to do. I'm out of that control. I cannot go with a Sean Shelby or and choke him or chill Dana White and force him to give me, like, so like, why break my head over that? I've already done it plenty enough. And since then, I already passed that point, and it's not bad to feel these feelings and go through them, but you have to go through them in order to find a way to deal with them better. So all because you're speaking to me and you see that I'm zen and I'm chill and everything like that. I'm not always chill. But in order to be this chill, I have to fully embrace and let happen the emotions and feel them and understand them. Well, I feel like we avoid negative emotions and don't ever dive into them because we're avoiding pain all the time and suffering. Don't avoid it. Look for the pain and hurt it back. And then you're going to see yourself in that. See how you react when you are backed up into a corner. And then try and make that better. Say like, oh, I don't like that about myself. I don't feel that's really me. Let me be more of myself in these situations. The self that I want to see more. And there, you can call that self-improvement, realizing who you are by facing atrocities or endeavors.
Yeah, it's funny you should say facing atrocities or endeavors. It truly can be either side of the spectrum, I guess.
Well, it could be even extreme pleasures. It could be temptations. It could be a lot of things. Who are you when you're backed into those corners? Who do you want to be when you're backed into those corners? Remember, we're all a persona. That means we're all playing. The definition of persona is like the big megaphone mask they used to wear in the like Roman and Greek operas. So it's an actual mask. So who is the persona that you're playing? That's what you have to ask yourself. Are you a man of many faces, or is the mask that you wear is one? I want to wear one. I don't need to confuse anybody else, and I don't need to play so many different people and confuse myself. I don't identify with so many different things. So I choose a path that I want to walk, a stoic path, more of a disciplined path. I want that path. So I have to face these endeavors. So when it comes to darkness and pain, rather than running away from it, I delve into my anger and I will put a leash on it because it's that I am not my anger. It is a part of me. It came from me, so I can control it.
Can I ask can I ask you a question for help? Fucking nobody's watching this, bro. Help me out a little bit. Um I fought for a long time and I used to train regularly. I'm going through a lot of knee surgeries right now. I just had like my 7th one in the last 10 years. Fucking sucks. And now that I don't really find myself on the mats and I'm not necessarily getting that all out there, um, why am I saying this here? But I'm not pleased with the anger that I find coming out of me nowadays. And I tell myself, well, maybe it's just because I haven't, I don't have the therapy that was going out and getting out the physical. But I think I'm selling myself short if I say that that's all it is. Um, I'm not asking you to fix my problems, obviously.
Yeah.
But I think it's just funny, not funny. It's crazy how um all these things that we're doing at once, these wearing many hats. There's nothing wrong with multitasking, which I try to do, right? But I worry sometimes that the stresses of wearing multiple hats becomes the stress of wearing multiple masks. And it just makes not masks per se, but playing persona. What the fuck's the difference? We just talked about it, right?
I mean, like I do many things, but I am me when I do many things. Then there is no difference. You can express yourself however like. I'm still me when I'm angry, and I'm still me when I'm happy, and I'm doing different things. I do karaoke. As you can see, I play drums, I play guitar, I've learned how to play the banjo. I do plenty of different things, and I don't consider them a different mass. I try to express myself through different outlets. Um, But when it comes to like not being able to train anymore, my personal opinion is that there are ways to train martial arts, even with messed up knees and whatnot. And then again, like I said, if you're consciously looking for solutions, then look at maybe something other than surgeries that might better your knee. You know, you look for different avenues of healing, different ways of doing it. I've encountered a lot of major injuries in my career, as you can imagine, being in the UFC over 30 fights. So um, I have found ways to work around and heal different injuries that could have ended careers or stop people. Look at Yoel Romero. He has a fused neck bone, for Christ's sake. You know, and he's, the guy can't turn his neck, you know, he has to turn his shoulders. Like anybody else would have got the injury, they would have died.
Well, you know, Yoel is not the best example, bro, because that is a special human being. But fair enough. I get your point.
A lot of things, you know, like I've had knee injuries, I've had a broken bones during fights, even, you know what I'm saying, had to recover from those. And some of those injuries, like breaking my hand, I don't feel like I was ever gonna hit the same, you know, like and to work through those things, or where I don't know if I know I popped my ankle before, like not being able to walk and stuff. And I just refused to do surgery because I know that I would have to keep going to do surgery sometimes. But even if I had to do surgery, I found ways to continually try and heal it. And a lot of it actually came from looking at a lot of old school yoga techniques and kung fu stretching and healing martial art techniques as well. Even getting into like slower martial arts like Tai Chi or internal martial arts and stuff like that would help as well, because a lot of the healing process comes from within. And I'm a firm believer that if you channel your chi, your prana, your inner energy, all that stuff into places of your body, you can promote healing on your own. Like I got when I broke this arm, I got x-rayed on this. It's getting better. It's been bothering me for a while, but it like I didn't even know, but I have like shattered bones all over my freaking elbow. But we were in the movie like Doctor Who.
I haven't seen Doctor Who, no.
Okay, well, if you watch Doctor Who, when he's like training with some people, like in the beginning, um, in that sense, you can use your chi to override injuries. Every fighter is injured. Every fighter has a major injury, but when you're able to supersede that, like for instance, I know like my old master Manolo from Miami,
Hmm.
he healed a snapped ACL. No surgery. No one knows how he did it. He just kept training and working through it, rubbing it down, moving it, stretching it, and just it somehow reattached.
I'm on my third ACL in 5 years.
It's weird though, but like the thing is, like I believe in those type of miracles. You believe, you have faith, and you don't get off like the like I feel that things that happen, no matter how difficult they are, because I've seen motherfuckers with no legs or no arms fighting shit, no matter how difficult it is, I feel like the difficulties are those tests of character that will bring you closer to that perfection. Even if you have no legs, you are still perfect, because there's a beauty in the drive that we have, that every living being has. Like a horse will run till it dies, like if it needs to. I will go to war and defend and put my life on the line and lay down for like that kind of thing you don't have in a lot of people. And if you have any of that, then you're perfect. You're gonna heal. You're gonna come back. You're gonna find a way of doing it. You know, like that's the way that I feel, at least.
No, that's beautiful, brother, and it's perfect timing because I did. Unfortunately, I think I fell victim to the whole, doctor knows best and constantly being put under the
Well, they
knife.
don't train. They don't train. Doctors don't train. They look at a shape. They eat like shit. I don't believe them. They get paid to tell you what they tell you. At least for the most part, medical doctors. You know, So it's just they get paid to keep you coming back. How much money do they get off the surgeries?
And I try not to think about it. I try not to think about it.
No, exactly. So like when you understand that, like maybe I try to look for different ways of doing it, or look for different ways of training, because like I remember when I broke my arm, my hand, like my jab became very good. And if I had to fight you with one hand, I'm going to beat you with one hand. So that's the thing. If when I injured my legs, my punches got really good. When I injured my arms, my kicks got really good. So it's just an opportunity to train something else. That's the way that I look at it too. When I'm all fucked up, it's a good way. That was the opportunity to get my abs, and now I never get dropped by body shots. So when there you go, that's another way of doing it. So it's just the way you look at it.
Yeah.
I don't get defeated. I don't get beat. Like I lose, but I'm gonna keep coming back. That's what it is. I'm a wave, dude. I'm gonna come down. I'm gonna come right back up again. It's gonna keep on rolling with it. And you got to take it with stride as much as you can. Get angry, get frustrated. Sometimes you need to channel that energy to get the shit done. But at the end of the day, you can't detach yourself to the results. Whatever it is, it is. Like I wish I never got this fucking scar over my face. Look, it changed my whole look forever. But I got to embrace it for what it is. Make it work for me.
It's dope. When we jumped on, I was like, oh shit, that's still there.
But
It looks good, bro.
But you can't think about but if I draw on there, yeah, I'll be cursing myself for having this. I don't know, it's a lot of things, like stupid things change you. You're gonna get changed. It's a rough and tumble world, and shit's gonna happen. But how you adapt to it, I think that's what really matters.
Nothing wrong with writing new stories, new chapters right along the way. Um, I'm gonna ask you one more because just before we go too far off that topic, when you say you lean into your anger, when you get mad, when you get hurt, and you like rather than shy away from it, can you talk to me about that a little bit more in detail, or like how you do that? It doesn't have to be a how, but can you just talk to me about that a little bit more?
Well, I guess usually when I get angry, I try not I try not to, and I'm not saying that's never happened before, but I usually don't. I usually just get angry for just reasons, or I feel like if I'm being, trespassed against to a certain degree. So if I get angry, I feel like I don't try to um I don't keep it unexpressed. Either I find a very elegant way to express it, or if the situation calls for it, I would blow up, and cause a fucking scene because I feel like it is necessary at the moment. But I'm not gonna regret it. I can look back on it and be like, hey, maybe I could have done it better, but I'm not gonna regret what I did because I needed some type of results at the moment. So the thing is, I'm not gonna feel ashamed for feeling some type of way, or even for what I did. I'm gonna try and do the best possible action. But if I feel ashamed, I'll never learn to do something better. You get what I'm saying?
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
And so
Same.
it's an interesting way of, it's a way of learning. Like when you learn music, they teach you to play through the wrong notes, because as long as you at least you keep the rhythm. And if you keep the rhythm, then you can put the right notes in there later and you get better. But if they say, oh, that's the wrong note, that's the wrong note, then you'll be afraid of playing the wrong notes, and then you'll be afraid of playing any notes at all. So I would rather do a wrong action than an inaction, because it's better to be hot or cold, because if you're lukewarm, I will spew you out of my mouth, as Jesus would say.
Love it. I love it, man. Cool. Now I don't feel bad about people I yelled at today. They probably deserved it. I could have handled it better, but you're right. I don't take any of it back.
So, yeah, look, retrospect, you can take it back. you can just don't feel ashamed for it. Like you can take it like, hey, like my bad, you know, like I agree, like because I got into like we were in a fight game, you know, and I get into like a lot of like fights with people in the gym, you know. Sometimes we hit each other the wrong way and we're sparring, we get mad at each other, we'll start arguing, pushing each other about the fight and stuff, and make a whole commotion, you know, call each other names, like, hey, look, bro, my bad, you know. I'll come the next day, like my bad to the way I reacted, bro, but I felt this way and I felt like you were doing this and this and that. So I want to clarify what the fuck's going on. Are we gonna have a problem or we're not gonna have a problem? And, you know, and we'll rectify it that way. Like I can forgive myself for what I did. Can you forgive yourself for what you did? Are we gonna be cool and punch each other in the face another day? You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
it's just living in the moment. That's what it is. It's just being in the moment, like dealing with the shit. Everybody wants to have that shit handled already in the future. No, that's impossible. You can't have everybody wants a guaranteed only pleasurable moments throughout the future because of maybe bad moments they had in the past or remembrances of pleasure moments in the past as well. Instead, just deal with the shit at the moment there and now. And then the more you deal with the shit at the moment, the better you get with dealing with shit at the moment. So the shit that used to make you super angry, now you're gonna be like, maybe I don't get as angry, or maybe I see it with a better observance, and then I react accordingly nowadays. But you wouldn't be able to do that if you don't interact with it a lot. Same thing with fighting. The more fights you're in, the better you are at dodging punches. If you have ever been into a fight, you're gonna get in the face for sure.
I've never thought of it's obviously not a you don't feel great admitting it, but you know, I find myself sometimes putting things on the back burner. It's like, oh, I kind of want to fucking deal with that, and you know, um, but just like the more you do that, the more I do that, the more that becomes a habit. I'd imagine if you're absolutely right, the more
Well,
like
it becomes easier. It is like so um uh, like a couple that regularly discusses their grievances in the beginning may look like arguing, but then it becomes to like where you know it becomes more conversational. It's like now it's an understanding. Now there are less grievances because we understand each other so much. So the things because usually grievances come from misunderstandings, especially in relationships. um the wife will be like, oh, you rocked past me the wrong way, or the husband will be like, oh, she didn't text me back, and something, you know, like, and then we don't verbalize it. And since we don't verbalize it, we make this entire story that's an illusion in our heads, and then we already blame this person for it. And now we're mad for no reason. So the more you just nip it in the bud, get right down to it, and talk about the hard things at the moment, the more easy it becomes to do. And then you find out, oh man, there are no fucking problems. Or there's a major problem and it should be rectified.
certainly isn't gonna get better by waiting, right?
No, of course
Yeah.
not. Or it's just lack of understanding. You can wait and everything. It's just a lack of understanding, and it comes with communication or interaction. The more we interact with things, the better we understand things. The more we interact with fire, we know it burns and we know how to handle it better. Oh, it can cook things too. Oh, it can give me light as well, but it does burn. Oh, it can burn other people. Like the more we learn about it. So it's in life, you know, the more we come into contact with the things that we want to learn about, the better we become at them, for sure.
Um, and when we talk about like that evolution, right, or getting better, becoming better versions of ourselves, best versions of ourselves, whatever that may be, whatever that may mean. Um, I talk about that young Alex Caceres that I watched in those old fucking backyard videos. Um, we don't have to go that far back, but if you were to talk to the younger Alex Caceres, we've gotten to see a lot of your growth pretty much before our eyes. But if you could take a step back and I don't know, a decade, maybe more, is there any of this that you'd want to impart on the younger self, or do you feel because that's like an easy podcast question. What would you tell the younger version of yourself? But that's not what I'm going to ask you.
No, I mean,
Would you even want to? Would you even want to talk to your younger self?
I wouldn't want to change a thing.
Yeah.
The way that it happened. I feel, and I feel like that's one thing that we have to embrace as living beings on this planet or on this realm that we're living on at the moment. The fact that you are alive today everything happened the way it was supposed to happen, or else you wouldn't be here. And I don't think you should change anything.
Perfect. Perfect. I don't think there's a better way to wrap this up than with that note, because I think it's very, very easy to get tied up in the past or self-improvement. And I think sometimes that you already covered how dangerous that can be, and for the many reasons that it can be dangerous. But like you said, also, if you focus so much on what you could have done differently, you maybe you most certainly lose sight that all those experiences are what have you looking and thinking the way you are now, right? And potentially being able to look back and say that, well, from hindsight now I can see this, but that wouldn't be the case had you not gone through those things. Man, I'm so grateful, man. I don't, without getting too religious or anything, right? Like, or going that route. Like, I think everything, I like to think things happen for a reason. And you and I struggled to link up with you for a little bit. You're a busy guy and stuff, but life's weird, man. I've had a lot of stuff going on in my personal the last couple of days, and this talk is obviously great for my channel to talk to a stud like you. But for my personal, that was great. Thank you very much, man. I needed that, Doug. I really did. Um, so, bro, let's wrap this up. How can obviously how can fight fans stay up to speed on all things Alex Caceres right now, brother?
Oh well, I guess just I'm barely on Instagram nowadays. I'm sorry, I don't keep up with social media too much. I'm going to be on Fight Circus this weekend, so you can catch that. I don't know where they're airing it, honestly. See, I'm just don't keep up with any of this stuff, but it's happening in Vegas. I know I'm going to be at Vegas at the Palms. That's where it's going to be at, and should be fun. I'm pretty sure everybody's pretty internet savvy, so you can find out where it's being aired. But you'll catch me and Marcus McGee on there.
Yeah, let's talk real quick. So you're facing off against Marcus McGee, who is a current UFC bantamweight. And you guys are having a specific rule set match. I think it's on Triller. I could be wrong. Um, is it a kicks only match? Is that the rule set?
Yeah, but since we're going off of like more of this like Bruce Leeroy storyline, it's gonna be more theatrical. So like, I can't really um reveal anything at the moment, but yeah, it's what they call human cockfighting.
Okay, I know I said I was gonna wrap this up, but I do want to ask you something, because it's come up many a times on my show already, talking to some older school guy, like old school guys, like old black belts and shit. Um, and that's the idea of not loving some guys not loving where martial arts and fight sports are heading right now. The entertainment world, social media, all that shit bleeding in.
Ah, man,
Can I get your thoughts? Because I've always thought of you as like, for obvious reasons, the traditional martial artist kind of guy.
but what is the traditional martial arts? Like,
You tell me, dog.
who is the master and who is not? This guy's the master because he kissed this guru's feet and he prayed to this guru here? Like who's giving people the rights to say that this is what it is and this is what is not? Like, martial arts is everything to me. Kung fu is everything to me. It's entertainment. I mean, what do you think martial arts movies are? It's doing martial arts, but not necessarily for real, just for entertainment, to show people martial arts, to showcase it. There's nothing wrong with that. So if you have no, if you're a UFC fan but you love Jackie Chan films, then you're being a hypocrite. So if for I feel like martial arts as entertainment is better entertainment than most entertainment, because it also usually comes with um moral protagonists, defeating an immoral antagonist. It promotes good morals and behaviors and justice, if anything. So I would rather have that as entertainment than Taylor Swift talking about how she's going to sell her soul to the devil and shit.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that answers my question. Yeah, and I think um broadening our views and recognizing that that when we pigeonhole our ideas to what is tradition, we likely miss out on a lot. And I've been guilty of it myself, for sure, you know. Um, but I'm happy to admit that. And
Personal tradition, and especially in that, like it's an art, it's an expressive thing. Any tradition restricts expression. Who
yeah,
cares how I punch you if I punch you? I've been told that so many times, like that's never gonna work in the fight, but it worked on you. Yeah, sir, but it's just not, it doesn't matter. It's just like it doesn't matter what you think. You're the one holding your nose. Like it's just not me. Is so that's what I love about martial arts. That's what whatever rule limitation you want to put on it, I can nullify that by hitting you in the face. And then like, oh, it worked.
yeah.
You know?
That's the end of the day. What is it? Anything, everything's impossible until it happens, right?
Yeah.
I love it, brother. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And like I said, I don't mind admitting that, maybe sometimes personally I've been a little pigeonholed myself because I'm a old school guy, but I think a true old school guy or somebody that really does delve into what it's supposed to be about, probably would look at it a lot broader than I have in the past. So thank you. I appreciate this talk. I appreciate you very much. And fight fans, make sure you keep up to speed with Alex Caceres as Bruce Leeroy. I know he can't give us a lot of details, but joins the fight circus this weekend, coming us from the Palms in Vegas. He takes on Marcus McGee in a very, we'll say, exciting, even if a lot of details aren't released, exciting matchup. And I'm excited to see what you got coming up next. I love seeing you in Dirty Boxing, brother. I think Dirty Boxing is I really like that promotion. I think their fights are awesome. I like how they're not afraid to change things up from show to show as they find their stride. I'd love to see you get some more opportunities in there, man. It's a lot of fun to watch in there, bro.
That's pretty funny.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. With that, we'll catch you next time, and we'll talk to you soon, my bro. I appreciate your time so much.
Right, man.
Thank you, brother. Bye.